Hey, Hill Squad. Welcome to part one of our interview with forward female co founder Priscilla Presley. Not that Priscilla Presley, the other Priscilla Presley. Entrepreneurship from scratch. In this episode, we cover choices that anyone, and I mean anyone, any age, any financial background can make in becoming an entrepreneur. We also learn how to learn from mentors that don't even know they're your mentor. How about that? So, anyone who's complaining that they don't have a mentor, stop complaining. We got that covered too. Other great tips from Priscilla: leaving every room knowing more about the other people than they know about you. I've never heard that one, but I love it. So many great tips in this episode. I'm telling you, I promise, whether you want to go out and start your own business, leave a job, or you have someone you know, maybe it's even your child that's in college, I promise this episode is for you. Enjoy. Hey, Hill Squad with Maria Menounos fans. It's not Maria Menounos. It's Mr. Maria Menounos sitting in for my beautiful and talented wife. And today we have a very, very special show for you. One I'm super excited to do for anyone, certainly who is a fan of entrepreneurship or maybe is in a corporate job they want to transition out of, or maybe you're in college or you have a child that's in college and they want to maybe skip the corporate world and be an entrepreneur. Today's interview is the interview for you. Now, let's start with the quote of the day. I know I'm probably upsetting the people in the booth because I'm going out of order here, but learn to trust the journey even when you don't understand it. That's from me, LeBron. And this quote is very important for our guest today. It's Forward Female's co-founder and CEO, Priscilla Presley. Now, it's not that Priscilla Presley. All due respect to the king and the king's wife. It is not that Priscilla Presley. It's another Priscilla Presley, a young and vibrant co-founder and CEO of Forward Female, Priscilla Presley. And again, she's here today to help us learn how to go from working in the corporate world to being an entrepreneur. Her company is a creative brand building agency and social club that helps clients do just that. So hopefully we're going to get the secret sauce for you all and help you get out of those cubicles and into wherever entrepreneurs go. Priscilla, I don't know, do entrepreneurs go to cubicles too?
You know, it's possible, but it's all in what you actually want at the end of the day of like, what is that dream and what is the entrepreneurship path like for you? But I'm so excited to be here, Kev. I love chatting with you. This is just the best.
Priscilla also, it's like, so I'll date myself. It's like the old 80s commercial. I'm not just a spokesperson, but I'm also a client. But so Forward Female is Heal Squad's brand building agency and brand building agency to several other female entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general. So I just we have great experiences with you.
Yeah.
But I love your journey of being an executive. Being an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And in television of all places.
Yeah.
And then, transitioning out to do your own business, but especially one that I think is creative and supports other people. And I don't know, just kind of encompasses all things. And I think all things I think the people from the Heal Squad are about, which is purpose, value, but also independence and yes, financial freedom, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
When you were in college, Priscilla, what were you thinking you were going to have your own business one day? What were you thinking?
Not at all. I was one of those people that my whole life, I always had a vision for myself of exactly what I wanted to like do. And then I would like work so hard to achieve it. So from a young age, my dad was putting me in front of the camera for his companies. He was an entrepreneur. I loved people. I loved selling. I loved all of these different things. But the way that I saw myself like going at first when I was super young, it was like, maybe I wanted to be an actress. And then I learned a little bit more and I'm like, oh, news, that looks so cool. Maybe I want to be like a news reporter or a news anchor. And so I ended up going to school for media. And I'd done an internship in high school for the television station for our school district. And so I was like our news anchor for that. And I was never like super good at that, but I really loved it. And I loved it because at that level, I got to kind of do everything. I got to be the camera woman. I got to be the anchor. I got
This
to
is the
produce
internship.
it in high school.
Oh my goodness, way back
Yeah.
when. Okay.
And I really loved it to where I thought I wanted to go to school for that, and I did. I got a full ride scholarship for media, and I went and I was a part of the television station at my college, and I started as in front of the camera, and then I started really learning about behind the camera and the producing aspect of it all, and how that was really like creating something from nothing, which I really, really loved, which I view a lot like entrepreneurship and starting a business. You're creating something from nothing, really.
Mm-hmm.
And in college, I got the chance to start this show called North Texas Now, and it was our entertainment show for my college. And it was all the like cool and fun things like all around Texas that we would cover. I had hosts, we did shows down in Austin, we did traveling, we did all of this stuff. We even won an Emmy like for it, which was the coolest thing ever. And I had so much fun.
Wait, so could we have put Emmy winning?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, Dwayne, let's get that in the bio next time.
Got it. And yeah, I was just kind of like the person that like if I wanted something, I was just gonna go all the way. Like I was gonna burn myself out. I was gonna go all the way. I had the vision. I was gonna do whatever it took to get there. And always looking towards the next thing, always looking forward, never looking backwards. So I'd accomplished that in college. I'm already looking forward to like what I want to do after college and what that next step is going to be for me. I worked for the Ryan Seacrest Foundation in college for the television network that was in all of the children's hospitals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. I loved producing. I loved like putting things together. And so I thought really out of college, my big, big dream was to live in Los Angeles, to work for an entertainment news show, because that's what I was doing in college and I really loved it. And I wanted to be a producer and an executive producer of an entertainment show was like my big vision. Yeah. And right out of college, I got that opportunity. I was the second pick for the Television Academy's internship, where they picked 50 students from across like the country. I got a decline letter first, and I was devastated.
Oh.
And that person, for some reason or another, said they didn't want to do it, and I was the next choice. And I took it, and I was so excited. I just remember I was like crying that my dreams were coming true for this internship in Los Angeles to work at Warner Brothers, which was like, oh, I couldn't even like truly fathom that. And I had accomplished that, but it was this, accomplishment that was a 3-month accomplishment. So I like graduated college, accomplished exactly what I wanted to do from it, and then really started learning, I think, about myself from there.
From there, you know what I you probably take a little bit for granted because it's you, but I don't, is what I see today. Now that was, you're still very young.
Yeah.
That was less than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found, unfortunately, in the last 10 years is actually, even at your age group, the people that I know that get those internships don't view it as much of a victory.
Mm-hmm.
It's more a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And that's where I see the problem is.
Mm-hmm. I see that too.
Because there's no appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I just got any Kelsey, our friend, co-host of the show and producer of the show, same thing when she got her first kind of assistant or internship job, super excited.
Mm-hmm.
But I think don't take that for granted because you appreciated it because it was rare. And it's like, to work in TV and film, it's in Hollywood, it's colossal. But yet I feel the way we've raised people today with
Mhm.
entitlement, they look at it like, well, that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then when they're there, it's, you know, because I'll always talk to them to see if there's any diamonds in the rough that I can hire.
Mhm.
And they're there certainly, but then there's a lot who are complaining, and
Mhm.
they're more taking notes on the environment and how it's not. So
Mhm.
I just,
Mhm.
I think part of your success has to, along with a lot of the stuff you're telling me about yourself,
Mhm.
I think the appreciation and the gratitude, but again, it's a choice.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I know you were naturally probably like that, but that's choice. And that was
Mhm.
a big one. So, from there, you end up, is that when you've got your job as an assistant
Yeah,
in
I
television?
mean, whenever I left, and I was in Texas, so I moved to Los Angeles, literally in my like Toyota Camry that was like 20 years old with an air mattress in the back seat, like praying I was going to be able to pay for this room that I had to rent during this internship, and just figuring it out. I worked really hard to save up a lot of money to just be able to afford to come out here and do the
So
internship.
parents didn't write the check?
No, no, and that was how I grew up. I had to work for I worked since I was, 14 years old to like, and even before then, I would work on with my dad, like during summers and after schools, I'd work for his companies and go along with him. Um,
Which again is so healthy.
yeah.
I mean, in those, yes, you could have been at
Mhm.
dance recital or softball practice or whatever,
Which I
but
was there too,
right.
but I was
Which
I,
again, I still think is great. To want to make sure I say that, to be doing that and rather than be playing video games. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
I
I was
get it.
very active. My parents always got me involved in everything. I loved being involved in everything. I was just like always doing something.
Yeah.
But seeing my dad from like a young age, he was such an entrepreneur. His story is so fascinating to me, and I learn from it every day, that he really taught me like the work ethic, that like it doesn't just come, that it's work.
You have to work.
And
Yeah.
and the things that can come from that is, amazing. And so, if I wanted to go to the movies, I had to work for it. I didn't get an allowance. I didn't get anything. I had to go, rake the leaves, or I had to go sell candles with him to in the back of his pickup truck
Wow.
and make commission to do that. And so I
What a
think,
healthy practice, though.
yeah, like I still remember like several things to this day. He would put me in instances of like, do you want to go hourly or do you want to go commission? And I always went commission,
Oh my goodness.
because I always made more money, which I liked,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I would work harder, because I wanted more.
Yeah.
And so many things I think growing up really built me into who I was, at that point, that really helped me. So coming to Los Angeles was a big thing for me. My parents they were supportive, but they didn't really want me. They wanted me to stay home. They like loved me so
Yeah, of
much.
course. Are you only
And
child, Priscilla?
no, I'm the
Oh, the
youngest, but
youngest.
I have,
Okay.
half siblings. Between my two parents, I'm their only
Oh, that's why. Yeah,
child.
got it. Now that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, so I came out here and I just put everything into the internship. My mission was to get hired. And I didn't really, as I was going through the internship, I made sure I was the first person in the door in the morning. I was the last to leave, that I was like doing things even when they didn't ask, that I was coming up with segments, and social media was really on the rise then. And so whenever I like was getting into it, I was trying to build out this whole social media department for the show that they didn't have any budget for, but I was just doing it. And I was pitching it to them. I was going into like to the executives, like just as this intern, which like looking back, I'm like,
No,
wow.
but these were choices. So the
Yeah.
choice to be first in, last to leave, choice. The choice to lean in and go the extra mile, choice. The choice to give free information, like they would
Yeah.
be free to say back off. So summer is almost here. Maria and I are excited to go on vacation in the next few months. You guys already know our friends and longtime supporters, Macy's, will be making sure we have everything we need for our summer vacays. If you have any upcoming plans that you need for the perfect outfit, such as graduation, a summer trip, or that end of summer wedding, Macy's has what you need, and you can start getting your summer wardrobe ready by either heading over to Macy's.com or in store for anything like clothing, accessories, and so much more. If you need some inspiration on what to get for your upcoming trips, make sure to head over to Maria's Macy's wish list using the link in the podcast description where all her favorite Macy's finds can be found. Let us know what you end up with when you do. For sure. I will always say, just a little side note, I think one of the most fun things to do is every season go into Macy's, whether it's your spring wardrobe, your summer wardrobe, your winter wardrobe, your fall wardrobe. But the summer one was always the most fun because you're going to go in there and you're in your head is nothing but fun stuff. Summer is fun. So going into Macy's is fun. Now, I'm also going to go to, the pretzel place and get myself a feel-good pretzel. When I do it, that's my treat. But Maria and I always go into the store. We're blessed to have Macy's as a sponsor, which, gets us close to the brand again. But I will say it's also just a super fun experience and a great way to prepare for summer. So that being said, Macy's.com or check out the link here and find out what Maria's wearing. You don't want to know what I'm wearing. I will say, though, I bought those 3 Calvin Klein suits. Perfect. Christening, graduation, and I have someone's wedding coming up. Boom. I got my 3 suits. And if you knew I don't even want to say what I paid. Didn't pay a lot. And I'm good. And I get lots of compliments too. And when you're a man of a certain age, these are things you appreciate. Macy's.com. I want to do a little quick side story. It's that you may be able to use too when you talk to your other clients. In baseball, there's a general manager by the name of Theo Epstein.
Okay.
And Theo made history. I don't know if he was the youngest GM, but certainly he's the one pretty much responsible for helping to break the 100-year curse of the Bambino, where the Red Sox had not won a World Series. He took over the team, put together this very diverse team. Mm-hmm. They win the World Series. The reason he goes on to Chicago and to another franchise that hadn't won, does the same thing there. Mm-hmm. But the reason I bring him up is because when he was an intern, when Maria was doing one of the celebrity baseball games with the Major League Baseball, I have the benefit of being behind the scenes, and I always talk to the people behind the scenes, and I like to learn and find out what's going on, how they're running that business, how they're building those brands.
Yeah, because that's who you are.
That's who I am. And they said when Theo was an intern, they were doing something to salute the Negro Leagues. The Major League Baseball was. Mm-hmm. And he took it upon himself to go super, super deep on the research. And he uncovered statistics and things that they didn't know, but just went all in on it. Mm-hmm. And you say to yourself, no coincidence. Yeah. Why he's going to go on to be who he is. But again, that's a choice. You know, even if your innovations weren't great, even if they didn't use anything, the fact that you did that, you made an impression. Like John Taffer, he's always saying with the Bar Rescue, he's really more about managing impressions. It's the impression he's going to put over on a consumer or whatever. But I think of Maria. She said working at Dunkin' Donuts, same thing. It was like she wanted to memorize the regular customers, what their order was. She tried to memorize their license plates. I mean, she's just always going that, extra mile. Yeah. And then, saying someone's going to see this somebody somewhere. But it's also just healthy practices that you take on, obviously, to your next jobs. Okay, so you're overachieving there. You help with the social media, and what's next?
And to me, it was like not this like overachieving. It was like at the time, right? To a lot of people,
you're just trying, right?
It's just like I loved it, and I wanted it so bad. Like I wanted it so bad, and for myself, like it was my dream. And so, if that's my dream, I'm gonna go all in.
But what's interesting was, and I always say this on Regular Guy Friday, those 3 words, at this time. It was your dream at that time. Yes. That's what's interesting. So I don't really, when people hear this, I don't want you to hear Priscilla's story and say, oh, she was lucky. She had a dream early. She knew what she wanted. I didn't know. I still don't know. This was a different dream.
Totally different dream.
But what that dream was at that time, these were the practices that you used for that dream, which eventually helps you to get to this dream, which is only at this time. You don't even know what your future dreams are.
Exactly.
Okay, so continue on, Priscilla.
Yeah, so I think, I was my goal at that time was like, I really want to get hired here, whatever it takes. And I'm going to do, if they don't have a position for me, I'm going to create one and I'm going to pitch it and I'm going to see what we can do. And so they didn't go for it was like social media library, something like coordination that I wanted to do at that time. But they were launching another show, and the executive assistant, that was the two executive producers, assistant at the time, was going to get a promotion to AP on the other show. And they were like, how organized are you? And I'm like, I'm the most organized person you've ever seen in your life. And they're like, okay, well then there's this executive assistant role coming up. I'm like, I'll do that and I'll sweep the floors. I'll literally do anything. Wow. And so I got hired from my internship. It wasn't, obviously this like role that I wanted, which I didn't even care. I just wanted to be there.
Get me in the game, coach.
Just get me in the game.
Get me in the game. No, just give me a crack. Just get me in.
Yeah, and I'll prove it to you. And I think it was a unique time there too. They were doing a lot of layoffs, and they were, getting rid of a lot of producers on the show at that time. So there wasn't like a lot of growth that I was like, man, like, I wonder if I'm still going to have an opportunity.
This is when you're at the assistant job.
Yeah, right. When it's like I get hired as the assistant and they're kind of laying people off. TV is just different, which is why I was pitching these social media spots that they should be doing.
Because you could see what was coming.
Right. And so it was a good opportunity for me. I was able to really prove myself. I was able to just learn so much about the industry, about people, about how to be meticulous with everything. In an executive assistant role, you really have to learn that.
Yeah, you can't make mistakes. And especially, you were like right before Hollywood cleaned up its act. I'd like to think it's better now. Yeah. I think it is better now, only because it has to be, not because it's ethically better. Right. But you were from the time of you didn't screw up.
No. I would have been gone.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one time I was almost gone because I returned a dress wrong. And I was mortified. I was like mortified. And I lost probably a week of sleep for it.
Which again, not healthy, Priscilla, on the one hand. Yeah. But on the other hand, the fact that you cared that much, I think matters. What I find that, what I find out with the generations out there now is way too okay with making mistakes. Yeah. Like they think it's like they get a gold star for going, well, my bad. It's like, okay, but you ran over my foot and broke my foot. I have a broken foot here. Yeah, my bad. But I said my bad. So I do think I obviously don't want anyone getting sick, but I love that you care that much. And so I know for me as an employer, when I see that a person is, then I'm like, no, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. But I think that's also says a lot about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was learning a lot about myself at that time. I was, out of college. I was, this was my first real big girl job, and I wanted to take it very seriously, and I wanted to succeed. And I was, my dream still at that point is I wanted to be an executive producer of a show like this. And so it was great for me to be learning directly from the source and assisting in that way. But I knew I needed to start producing, so I'd start volunteering and going out on shoots whenever they needed it last minute, and then I would take on things after hours.
Outside of your job,
yes. Oh, yeah, because there wasn't any way they were going to let their assistant go, so it would be at nights,
But you volunteered. I love that.
Yeah, and I, I was like, do you not have to pay me anything? I'll just do it, and they loved that, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's how I started producing. And really learning about that process, writing, working integration. So I was working on these multi-million-dollar deals, and because it was just out of necessity, they needed it. Right. And so I got so much opportunity at such a young age and stage in my career, which I'm really grateful for, because I think it set me up for everything that I do today in a big way. But on the other hand of that, I started learning a lot, and I started really questioning myself of if it was really what I wanted. because I was learning so much. I was seeing so much. I was looking at the people that I was aspiring to be, and I didn't envy their life at all. And I couldn't imagine working my whole career for that.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was devastating to me because it's what I had worked my whole life.
It was devastating to look at where this could end up and like, wow, this isn't what I thought it was. That was devastating.
That was devastating. I was anxious. I was depressed for the first time in my life alone.
Well, think of all the work
Los
you
Angeles.
invested, right, in this journey, high school, college, the internship to this, and to be like, wait, what? This is at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
I'll say this so before we move on to how you make the next big leap. You know, what I'm also seeing along with these choices, along with you leaning in, all the different things you've done that, again, we can all do. The other thing, and I guess it's choice too, is awareness. See, most of us don't have awareness. We just push through. We don't have the awareness to say, oh, wait a second. Look at the people who are in the positions I want to be in. They're overworked. They're tired. They're not happy. I know the position the company and the place, the genre, let's say, was all collapsing.
Yeah.
And it's not growing. It's going the other way. It's shrinking. And your awareness, you caught that. See, most of us don't. We just we caffeinate, we medicate through, we push through. We just, it'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better. So I think that's another really smart choice that people can make and that you made.
Yeah, it was like I'd always been looking forward at like what I wanted. And it was so clear to me, like, because I had the dream of it all was this dream that I had built in my head of what it was to be. And then I started witnessing it, which was powerful because I started witnessing what it actually was versus what the dream was in my head for it to be, which is why I think mentorships and surrounding yourself with people of where you want to be is so critical.
Oh, okay. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about that, the mentors on this journey, and then obviously the actual big leap into entrepreneurship. And then we'll talk about the type of entrepreneurship you're doing, which actually helps other entrepreneurs, which is very cool. Yeah. Okay. All that more when we get back. And we're back with Forward Females CEO Priscilla Presley. We're talking about making the transition from the corporate world to corporate to being an entrepreneur and moving out on your own. And we were talking about you had gone down the path to make your dream of becoming a Hollywood producer come true, and in the middle of that, you kind of see with awareness, maybe this isn't for me. You mentioned briefly about the importance of mentorship. So were there mentors coming in and out here to help advise you?
Well, I think that, I was looking at the people I was working with as my mentors, whether they really knew it or not. Like, I was really leaning on them for advice. I was watching them very carefully. I was seeing how they interacted, how their day was. I was surrounded by them, and I could ask them questions all the time, and they started leaning on me for advice too as they got more comfortable with me. But even I pictured them as my mentors because that's what I aspired to be at that time. But
I love this because what my problem was, I didn't have many people who wanted to be my mentor. And I was just a mess anyway, so I probably wouldn't want to be my mentor either. Until later I did find some. But earlier on, I didn't, but I love the fact that, again, this is just very inspirational for the person that doesn't have, because I hear this a lot, like, I wish I had a mentor, and I'm looking for a mentor. And they'll go up and they'll approach the mentor, a would-be mentor, in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
I want you to be my mentor. No. It's got to be, hey, I see you need help here, there, everywhere. Let me help you. And in turn, you could mentor me, but I can help you, give and get. But there's a lot of people who don't have mentors, but I love this technique of, okay, you're my mentor without even knowing you're my 100%. Mentor. 100%. But I love that, Priscilla, because I've never heard of that. That's great.
Yeah, because especially in today's world, like, you can, no matter what your circumstance, no matter where you're at, no matter, where you live in the world, you have this access to information. of what you want to be inundated with. And there is a sense of like control. So while I had the opportunity to be sitting in a newsroom of exactly where I wanted to be and witnessing all these people, I think there is still that opportunity in different ways too, no matter what you want to achieve. So I was witnessing the executives, in that way, and asking them questions, and they would help me, write scripts and things for them, and they would be the ones editing them. So I learned a lot, but I was really witnessing what their lives looked like and if I wanted that. And then I had a lot of the producers, just like the field producers and the day of show producers, I would just sit and like learn from. And they're still my friends to this day. And we learn from each other. I mean, I even had the opportunity to hire one of them whenever they got laid off from that show, like because I had created a company after. I mean, it's just like relationships are so important, and realizing that we all have something to learn and stay curious about, and we all have something to gain and give to. And like, if
So
you
did
look
you
at
know
things
that
way,
back then about relationships from your dad?
I think, yeah, for sure. My dad he's the person, he can walk into a room and he's friends with everyone instantly. And he always taught me the power in listening, and really listening and knowing when to speak up and when not, and to think before I speak, was big lessons that I learned from him. And to always leave a room knowing more about the other person than they potentially know about you.
Oh, I love that.
And he still reminds me of that to this day. Like, there's, those dad things where they just tell you for your entire life, and you're like, I got it, Dad. I got it now. But it's still to this day.
I love that, though. I've never heard, I've heard first one in, last one leave. I've never heard of always leave the room knowing more about the person than they know about you.
That means you were listening.
Wow.
You were
I love
asking
that.
questions. You were curious.
Yeah. People usually are flattered when you do that. It's a great way to engage with them. And I think you're showing them you care, but then you're getting to know them.
Yeah. So I think I took that into a lot of those instances. I didn't necessarily maybe think of it as mentorship, but I was just really trying to learn. I was trying to stay curious. I was trying to understand what my big dream was from there, and if it was what I actually thought I wanted it to be. And whenever I was saying I was getting depressed and anxious and all these things, I was realizing that, like, I was coming to the truth of myself that maybe that wasn't it.
But again, so you have this awareness. Again, most of us just depressed and anxious, and then we just go and do stupid things to nip it in the bud, Not always stupid. You might go to a therapist or whatever, but you went to the core of it. So you see yourself getting depressed.
Yeah.
And so what did you do when you were getting depressed and anxious?
So on the weekends, I was trying to like meet other people and explore LA and try to learn maybe what else I'd want to do. And I ended up going to this event for Bumble, which was this dating
app, yeah.
But they were launching Bumble for Friends and Bumble Biz at that time.
Do they still have those, by the way? Because
they have Bumble for Friends. I think they rebranded it. I don't know if they still have Bumble Biz.
Too bad. What a great thing.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It seems like it would work.
Yeah, I think, because I talked to them not too long ago. We were talking about doing something together, and they were deciding at that time. So I don't know what they ended up deciding. But I went to this event on Melrose, and you had to like download the app to get in. And I mean, I've been with my now husband since before dating apps were even a thing. And so I downloaded it, and you toggled over to the biz section, and I just met some really incredible people, and I started swiping on this Bumble Biz app, and I came across the marketing manager for Bumble, and I just connected, and she was from Texas, and I just loved this culture. I didn't know what it was. I had done some marketing for Red Bull in college, and I liked marketing, and I thought maybe that was kind of all similar. And so I just wanted to take her to coffee. It said she was in LA because it would say what location. And so I just swiped and I messaged her and I said, hey, like, I really love what this company is about. I don't know too much about it. I think it's very interesting. And if you would be open to it, I'd like to take you to 15-minute coffee.
So she's the executive at.
She was the national marketing manager for Bumble.
And when you DM'd her, did you mention your position where you were currently? Nothing.
No.
Just a cold.
Yeah. I was just curious.
But it's amazing she I mean, like that.
Yeah.
Guys, so I say this by the way, I say this so many times to people in Hollywood too. Can you just DM the person? All they'll say is yes, no, or ignore you.
Yeah.
But like, I love that.
Yeah. And I just asked her if I could take her to coffee. And she said, I can't do coffee, but we're hosting this private event at that location on Melrose tonight. Why don't you come in as my +1? I'd love to meet you.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay. So I went, and we just hit it off, and she I was like, I told her what I did at that time. And she was like, we're looking for this marketing manager for the West Coast, especially here in Los Angeles right now. And God, you would be a perfect fit. And I was like, I don't really have I'm doing this. I'm in a contract here. I can't leave. And she was like, just do it at nights and on the weekends. Like, I'd love to have you. And I was like, huh. So I took it. And so I started this position while I was still over,
at your other job. So yeah, well, I always say, Priscilla, nights and weekends. So when you have that corporate job and you want to, I call it the escape tunnel, nights and weekends, do your job.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you didn't mail it in at your corporate job. Like, no, you did your job, but then nights and weekends, unfortunately, are for watching American Idol. If anyone even watches that anymore, I don't know. But you know what I mean? It's not for that. It's for what you're doing.
And it sounded like a lot of fun. It was different, and it sounded like a great way to meet people. And it was like throwing parties like for people to get together and meet. And it was great.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So there's the one potential wrinkle in this that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think we have to mention it. You mentioned you had a significant other, you had a partner.
Yeah.
And it was a college through this experience? Or so when we talk about you're dedicating all your time Monday through Friday in your corporate job, and now you're going nights and weekends at this other job. How was your partner with that?
Yeah.
And how did you navigate that? And again, it might have been the choice of choosing the right partner, but I want to know, because I've seen a lot of partners, male and female, monkey wrench dreams and careers.
Yeah. I think.
How is he with it?
He is so great. Like, he just is so supportive. And I've kind of always been this way. Like, even in college, I was I was like the president of every organization. I'm at different meetings every night. I'm like, it's just who I am. And he knows that that's what makes me happy, like, is being out and curious and work. Like, I love that. Like, I just love it. Like,
But it was
good. Like,
he was okay with
building his own career and figuring out his own thing. I think the hardest thing for us was whenever I wanted to move to Los Angeles, and he grew up in a town of like 500 people in Texas. That was a big transition for him just as a human.
Right.
But we have such a good relationship and such a respect for one another, and not in our relationship, but also that we want each other to thrive. Like, we want each other to
rooting for each other.
Yeah. So intensely. And so we knew we were going to be together for the long haul. We just instantly knew that kind of when we met in a weird way.
I get that part. Have you seen partners screw up dreams? Have you seen that in coaching people?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I see it a lot. It breaks my heart. I've seen so many people who should have been business rock stars, actual rock stars, Hollywood stars, whatever. And it's been that partner, both male and female, who've thrown the monkey wrench in. And I've seen the results decades later, and it was never worth it. It was never like, oh, no, I made the right choice. I went with it. No, it's, and, I don't know how to coach around that.
No.
But other than go back to the individual, and it's your choice.
Yeah. I remember whenever I'd gotten the opportunity for LA, and he just knew that was that's what I wanted so bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do this. Because at the time, I had a job offer for the television station in Dallas to be a producer, to be an actual producer, not just get an internship. And it was Good Morning Texas, which was like the morning show.
Yeah. All right. This
and
works. Good Morning, Texas.
I was
Texas
going
is
to
a
be a
pretty big
producer
state.
there because I had
Damn.
gone and job shadowed, and I would go work for them for free on like the weekends because I was so curious. It was like the closest thing I could get to LA in Texas. And so they had offered me a job after graduation. And so he was like, you have this literal job offer here. It's not a bad job offer. And you want to leave for an internship in Los Angeles? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I'm doing it.
You have to when you're young.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, you go and do the internship, and I'm going to stay here, with our dogs and everything. And then we'll see what happens after the internship. And then once I got the job offer, he moved to LA. We moved into a little studio apartment, and he was figuring out his career here, and we just figured it out.
You figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have to coach people though when they come to your company and you kind of can see that the partner is not DFC, down for the cause, as I like to say?
Yeah, I mean, typically I don't work with people that aren't as...
They don't even make it that far, right? Yeah.
No.
By the time they get to you, they're all in.
They're all in.
And you're vetting them too. And that's a whole other thing. And again,
Yes.
we'll get to that. You're working the night and weekend with Bumble.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're learning about marketing.
Yeah.
And you're going to all these events. You must be meeting everybody.
Oh, I'm meeting everybody. I'm meeting like so many people. I'm getting so many opportunities. Because I'm like a marketing manager at Bumble, which is a major platform, and they have so much reach and so much money behind them. And then I'm also at Warner Brothers, and I'm 22 years old. And I'm getting so much exposure to so much.
Mm-hmm. And now is the anxiety and depression waning?
Yeah.
Right. So again, people usually don't like my advice, Priscilla, when they're not loving their job or they're depressed or anxiety. My solution is more work, unfortunately, but it works. So you did more work, and now you almost don't even have time to be anxious or depressed because...
Yeah, and I knew there was going to have to be a transition because I knew I was doing that to understand what I wanted. I wasn't going to be working these 2 full-time, jobs forever.
Right.
Like I knew that. I knew it was temporary. But I was really, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to. If I wanted to maybe grow at Bumble and do that. Warner Brothers found out that I was doing this Bumble thing. They called me into a meeting that they didn't like. I was doing that on the weekends, but in my contract I could be. And so we just nixed that in the butt pretty fast.
Now, were you able to stand your ground? I mean,
yeah,
you did. So that takes a lot of courage at 22.
Yeah.
How did you handle that?
I just...
Per my contract? Did you
Yeah.
What did Mr. Presley teach you? Your dad?
My dad hated that I was there because he came to visit me one time and I was in a cubicle.
Okay.
And he came to visit me in LA for the first time and see where I was working, and and he walked in and he saw I was in this little cubicle, and he almost just lost his mind.
Yeah, for an entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
That's a yes.
Exactly.
It's hard for us to understand that.
Yeah, and for him, he saw these, he saw me bigger. He's my dad.
Yeah.
He saw me bigger, and he was just like, I know you're more than this. He was like, I know it's this. I know it's this thing that you wanted, but look around. This isn't you. Your personality, who you are, is bigger than this. And that was hard because I'm like, I thought you were going to be proud of me.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it was a lot of that kind of learning too, of always wanting to push myself, him always pushing me.
And so you basically stand your ground and say, I'm going to continue to do this, right?
Yeah. And so I did until, and that's when I had like maybe a year on my contract at Warner Brothers. And so I was like the last person that even had like a contract there, which is like so crazy. And so I did both of that for like a year. I was learning a lot. And then at the same time, I met Lauren, who is the co-founder of Forward Female Today. She had a creative agency and she was living this entrepreneurial like dream that I was like, oh, like that's fascinating. I hired her to do some stuff on all the things I was doing with Bumble. And we became really good friends. And we just started like having dinners on like Friday nights and chatting. And I told her one day, I was like, I'm meeting all of these incredible people. I keep hearing that they all want to be doing, they have these big dreams. We're in LA. Everybody has these big dreams of what they actually want to be doing. Feels like everybody is scared to actually go for it. And if they all just knew each other, they'd all know that they could actually do whatever they wanted. There has to be a way for me to connect all of them. And these were like the things that were like playing through my head.
So this is the beginning, the early stages of Forward Female. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's wrap up part one there. Great episode. So much takeaway that I have, certainly for my daughter, going forward. No pun intended. Tomorrow, let's catch up for part two, where I would now want to go over the building of Forward Female, the exit from the corporate to building this company, and then even what the company does. I think is so much. There's so much great takeaway for budding entrepreneurs. So until then, everyone, as Auntie Maria says, be nice people, make good choices, and be present. We'll see you tomorrow.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or MariaMenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.